Adventure on Pipeman on W4CY Radio.
Wake up, America! It's time for the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY.com, West Palm Beach's #1 internet radio station. Here's your host, the Pipeman.
This is the Pipeman here on the Adventures of Pipeman, W4CY Radio, and it's our last Positively Pipeman segment of 2025. And we are going to get some great info about CBD and the benefits from none other than the pet health guru, Bill Pachaki. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. It's, I can't believe that this year is over with. This is our last, episode for this year. It's like, where did it go?
I know, time keeps flying and flying, it's so weird. The older you get, the faster time moves.
I blink and the day is done, and it's like I had a whole list of things to do. The day is over, and now I have time now to look at the list of what I was supposed to do starting first thing this morning. It's just as you say, and you push it to the next day, and it's on top of that list, and it's on top of that list, and the next thing you know, it's like, oh, it's New Year's. I don't want to go out. I'm too tired. I got all these lists I still have to work on. It's like, give me a break. But yeah, it's great to be here. We've got to have some good information on, the topic today, and we just go from there.
Well, I want to start off right off the bat with CBD. What I want to know what your opinion is of what our president recently did to kind of, I don't know, loosen the laws of CBD, I think.
He's under. It's a policy that needed severe, changes because most people don't realize the whole hemp, and of course, as a side note of that, the marijuana debate actually stems back to the media back in the late 1700s, early 1800s, when they outlawed hemp as a crop. Again, government interference. We've talked about that on other shows. And basically what started the whole thing was, I'm trying to think of his name, that had all the newspapers. And the newsprint, of course, was done, the paper was made with wood. And he invested all his money into growing forests, fast-growing forests, and that sort of thing to make paper. And, of course, George Washington, along with a lot of others, their primary crop was hemp. And you could do so many things with hemp. But in order for him not to lose his investment in trees, which take 20 years, 30 years to grow and harvest, we had to outlaw the hemp that they could grow in one season and make the same amount of paper, a lot cheaper. Wow. And so that's how the whole thing started. Again, based on money, based on politics, we had to protect ourselves. And hemp was used for making material clothing. They can use it in building materials, making, basically what amount to like concrete blocks out of it. You can build houses with it. So many uses. And of course, on the other side of it, the medicinal use, the food properties of the natural hemp products are, far exceed a lot of anything that's done on the pharmaceutical side. So we had to demonize the whole thing. And of course, today it's different because of the strains, because of selective breeding, just like our tomatoes, our cucumbers, our broccoli, broccoli you can't find in the wild. That was bred from something else. So the psychedelic part, if you will, has been because of the selective breeding, but the natural hemp products, and one of the things is the CBD. What people don't understand about CBD is our body actually makes it. It's a natural protector, and basically an enzyme or a botanical that is a protector. And when we look at using CBD and that sort of thing, why did we restrict it if our body makes it? How can you do that? I remember when I was in college, we in some of the classwork that I had to do on cattle, because they were still trying to eradicate it, because most of this happened, of course, in the late 1800s and into the 20th century. But they were trying to eradicate the wild hemp in states like Wisconsin, Michigan, up in the upper states where it's cool weather, because in the fall the dairy cattle were actually becoming stoned from eating the wild hemp that was growing in the pastures, and it was amazing. It was insane that what they were trying to do, but that's what our government does. That's what they try to do. But the way, and most of them, even the medical people, don't know how CBD works. Like I said, we make it in our own body. It basically, the way it works is turning on receptor cells to basically work to heal things. It works on inflammation. Our adrenal system, if you cut yourself, the adrenal gland kicks in in a microsecond, starts sending all kinds of healthy cells, hormones, enzymes, white blood cells, red blood cells, and nutrition to that wound site and start to heal it. And of course, we couldn't go through the steps there where the bleeding stops, and then you get a scab, and the neck falls off, and you get a red scar for a while, and eventually it all clears up, depending on what's the timeline is, of course, depending on what else you've done to your body along the way. Well, when that kicks in, CBD, the body takes the CBD and turns on the receptor sites. It sends it to that area, turns on receptor sites that do the same thing. It's sending those same cells, those enzymes, hormones, all of that to the area. It's not doing the healing. It's turning on the switch so your body can heal itself. And again, we go back to the same thing. Medical community, the pharmaceutical community wants to make money. If the body can make it itself, can heal it itself, we don't make anything. So let's make it illegal. Let's keep it restricted. And therefore, we can sell you a pharmaceutical that we make a profit on, but it's still not healing you. It's just masking that symptom. And it's crazy. We keep going into these same topics. And I've been doing it, like I said, we've been doing this for 18 years. How many different ways can I say, eat the right stuff, build your body up the right way, don't put poison into it, and you'll be healthy? It's,
it's a very simple formula,
It is. It really is. The thing is there's so many components that we have no control over. And that's the whole thing. And of course, when we're looking at CBD oil, for instance, it's an extract, it's a supplement. Okay. The reason where you have to take it is because our natural production of it has been diminished, again, because of the poisons we put in our body. And, we talked on another show about this. That's what autoimmune is. So it's not, the endocannabinoid system is being suppressed just like the rest of our systems, our kidneys, our liver, our adrenal glands, our brains, Alzheimer's. I mean, I can't even remember what day this is. But all this stuff is being suppressed because of transforming the body into pathways that are not working properly. They're all malfunctioning. It's like, you take two spark plugs out of your car, unless you got a Tesla, and then you don't have to worry about that. But taking two spark plugs out and wondering why the body is not working properly, why the car is not working properly.
Yeah.
And we have to optimize that. I don't recommend supplements for the most part. CBD happens to be one that it's the only form that we can really get it in. We don't use hemp or marijuana as an ingredient in our salad because we're not even allowed to sell it that way. Even the medical marijuana, I mean, you have to smoke it. So they're trading. I'm going to give you the benefit of this, and I'm going to ruin your lungs. That makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
What about edibles then?
Well, okay, the edibles, even though they're still using the basic oil. So the CBD is coming in the form of the oil that's mixed with sugary candies, which we call gummies. So again, we have you. It's counterintuitive. It's not working the way it should. It's always being disguised. We'll give it to you. We'll give you this little bit. We'll make it legal, but we're also going to make it so it's going to make you sicker. It's not going to have the same benefits. And
I also find it's kind of like mad science now. I think they're making stuff stronger. I think they're making things to where they're just dumbing us down instead of making our health better.
Well, it is. I mean, realistically, what they do in the pharmaceutical industry, they mix together a bunch of chemicals. Of course, that's happening in the air and the water and everything else every day. But when they start making it into a formula or a recipe, they then test it out and see what systems it has an effect on. There's no such thing as side effects. They're all effects. And when they do this, then, okay, I've got this that will mask this, whatever that's going on in your body. Now we have to make a disease that's going to fix the medicine. It's not the other way around. We're not making pharmaceuticals to cure disease. We're just finding a symptom that we don't like, that people don't like. And when we find a compound that will mask that, now we have a new disease. And, 90% of the diseases didn't exist 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Of course, either did 90% of the food in the supermarket, which is not food. That's why I can put stuff in the food, in the diet, in the air, in the water that's going to create a specific symptom. And then at the end of the day, here's something that's going to soothe and calm down that symptom or hide it. A funny story is one of my employees yesterday came in and she wasn't feeling well. She had an upset stomach. And her analogy was, it's like, my stomach feels like right now, like I had broccoli and sweet corn. And I said, why would anybody put that combination together? You're going to get sick, because the body can't use either one of them. But, those are the common foods today. So I just thought the analogy was really, really funny, that she's still thinking those are foods. And she works for me. It's like I got the only, my Paleo Pet, which is basically a health store today. I've got the worst health store in the world because my own employees are always sick because they don't even follow their own advice, which is what the problem is with most people. So they're looking for something that's going to cure everything, and that's where CBD sometimes they put in that place because it just kind of numbs the whole body. It's reducing down the inflammation. And if you stop and think about that, it's working on inflammation. How much inflammation do you have to have in your body where your whole body feels different?
Wow.
That's the issue. We're given so many inflammatories all the time that the body has got to work extra hard, and they can't keep up with the natural production of CBD. So we have to supplement it. And like I say, the form that they allow us to do it in, again, it's control. It's all about control.
So what happened between reefer madness, where, oh my God, it's the worst thing in the world, and now it's the best thing in the world?
Part of it in the political arena is the tearing down of what they refer to as a deep state, but also it's where it's the goal of the government is not to protect the people anymore. It's there to protect the elites, keep us dumbing down, being sicker and sicker. I hear it all the time. They're trying to kill us all. No, they're not, because when you're dead, you don't pay taxes.
Yeah.
They just want you sick enough so that you can pay off. You can buy the drugs and the pharmaceuticals and the medications and never get ahead. Never figure out the answers. and they're still stealing your money along the way, just through a different entrance way.
Wow. So tell everybody how they could get a hold of you, the pet health guru, find out more about CBD and the benefits, and where to get CBD, because like there's so many people making CBD out there. How do you know what's good CBD and what's not good CBD?
That it's so true. I mean, they can come to my Paleo Pet, and there we work with BioComplete, our supplier, to make sure that it's available. But on the other side of that, and that would be at the store itself. So, you'd have to go and talk to the counselors there. But but even with using CBD, it's not about one thing, because you have to still support the body, clean the body, detox through good clean food, water, herbals, botanicals, things of that nature that are going to clean out the system and work synergistically as a whole system. The body's a whole system. We have to support and clean every single part of it every single day. I mean, I just walked the dog this morning, and I look up at the sky, and there's the chemtrails again, which are supposedly banned in the state of Florida, but they can only ban the stuff that is being done by being supplied in the state itself. The Department of Defense, the federal government overrides it, so they send over their planes instead. Same people making the same amount of money, but it's if you go on to Pet Health Cafe, my podcast, you'll get a lot more information on the things that you can do that will support that cleansing, that healing process. That's what it's about. It's about healing, not about medicating. And, I know that you've had your health challenges. It's something you have to work on every single day. We talked about that on the podcast too.
Hey, listen, if you spend your whole life poisoning your body, it's not going to be healed in 2 seconds.
No. It takes time. We don't even realize it. We're working one cell at a time.
Yeah.
And we have to get rid of the ones that are already bad. We have to produce new ones that are completely healthy, and that's a process in itself, because a lot of them have started to mutate and change to where they don't function properly, because there's still residual chemicals, toxins, and malformations, things of that have to be worked through. It's like ourselves. Our body, our kids are going to look different than us because the cells have manifested themselves in a different way. Those cells inside your body, the mitochondria, have to do the same thing. Their lifespan might only be like on our skin cells. Of course, they replicate themselves every 4 to 6 weeks. So you got generation after generation, and like things like age spots and scars and stuff like that can heal over time. But it sometimes takes years for even that to happen.
Yeah.
So we have to be patient. We have to let the body do the work itself. That's the only way. The body is designed to regenerate itself every single day. And I had a conversation with a client yesterday morning. It's like she's afraid she's got a mild heart murmur. Well, I don't see how the body can rebuild that. I said, well, if you replace every cell, if you're replacing it with a good, clean, healthy cell, that problem is going to go away. But it's not going to go away. Heart cells take sometimes a year, 2 years, 3 years, depending on which one it is. And it's not all the same. It's like liver and kidney disease. You could actually replace your kidney by your body doing the work itself, not poisoning it more, in 4 months. You don't have to have transplant surgery. And, when you look at a benefit of something like the CBD product, because that liver is inflamed, if you take that on a regular basis, we're going to send the right nutrition to that area and the right cells, so that it will speed up the healing process, the healing mechanism, rather than being a therapeutic.
Well, you're always a wealth of information, and we wrapped up this year pretty well with the Pet Health Guru, because this is a very important thing. And I think people, if you're going to look into CBD, you got to go to the right places, because there's some wrong places. So definitely check out my Paleo Pet, check out the Pet Health Cafe podcast and live show. And hey, have a happy New Year, Bill, and we'll see you next year on the Positively Pipeman segment of the Adventures of Pipeman.
It sounds great, Dean. Happy New Year to you too.
Sonic Temple Art and Music Festival returns May 14th through 17th with My Chemical Romance, Tool, Bring Me the Horizon, and Shinedown. Plus, Pierce the Veil, Good Charlotte, The Offspring, Sublime, Godsmack, Breaking Benjamin, Marilyn Manson, and so many more. Sonic Temple in Columbus, Ohio, May 14th to 17th. Passes on sale now for as low as $1 down at SonicTempleFestival.com. Welcome to Rockville. Returns to Daytona International Speedway, May 7th through 10th with Foo Fighters, My Chemical Romance, Guns N' Roses, and Bring Me the Horizon. Plus, Turnstile, Five Finger Death Punch, The Offspring, Breaking Benjamin, A Day to Remember, Godsmack, and so many more. Welcome to Rockville, May 7th through 10th. Passes on sale now for as low as $1 down at WelcomeToRockville.com.
Hey, you're listening to the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.
This is the Pipeman here on the Adventures of Pipeman W4CY Radio, where weekly we have the Positively Pipeman segment, and we feature in that segment powerful business strategies from Michael Barbarita. So let's welcome Michael to the show once again. How are you,
How are
Michael?
you, Dean? Great to see you again.
Doing great.
Hey,
well,
I want to apologize. Last week I didn't wish you a Merry Christmas.
oh yeah, well, I'm Jewish, so a couple weeks ago you missed wishing me a happy Hanukkah.
They see that? There you go. That's what I missed. That's what I missed.
There you go.
But I'm going to wish you a Happy New Year coming up. So I can't believe the year is over. It's just hard to believe how
they go quicker every single year. Like it
sure
just amazes me. Wasn't it just January?
Yeah, I know.
I'm confused.
It's really amazing. But yes, so today I'm going to talk about legal structure and business structure, because when you start a business, selecting your legal structure is, it's an important decision, because the structure you choose will have a significant impact on the business operation itself, the management of your business, as well as taxes and personal liability as the business owner. And I'm not a lawyer, as you all know, and I don't pretend to be one here on the radio, but I do want to talk about legal structures as to my understanding of them and the best way to utilize them.
It is important, and most people do not understand them. There are a variety of choices, and a lot of people make the wrong choice. Right.
And so there's three, as I see it, there's three basic entities. There's your sole proprietorship, there's a corporation, and a partnership. So let's focus just on those three. And of course, there's different forms of a corporation, there's different forms of a partnership. But let's talk about them one at a time. So a sole proprietorship is actually a business formation that does not protect you from personal liability. However, the use of a sole proprietorship comes in most effectively is when you're just starting a business and you're seeing if it's going to work out. Because if you're just starting a business, you're under the lawsuit radar for the most part. You're just starting out. And so instead of incurring all the costs of setting up a corporation or a partnership, you just want to test out your business to see if it's going to be something you're going to stay with, see if it's something that's going to work for you and start to make money. And if it is, then you have to get out of that structure, because that structure affords absolutely no personal liability protection.
Yes.
It's if somebody slips
and higher taxes,
right, and higher taxes as well, because it's all on your personal tax return. There is no flexibility as there is with other structures. So you're going to pay self-employment tax. You're going to pay the regular income tax. In addition to that, self-employment tax is roughly 15.4%. You're paying, where as an employee, you only pay half of that. The other half is paid by the employer. And since you're a sole proprietorship, you're considered an employer, and that's why you're paying 15.4.
Yeah.
But the only way I recommend sole proprietorships is if you're just starting the business, you don't know if it's going to go north or south, and you're under the legal radar. You're not taking a lot of risk. You're not, like, for example, you're not giving what do they call when you they put they imprint the skin. What is that called? Tattoo. You're not doing.
Yeah.
You're not a tattoo parlor. All right, because if you are, that would probably present itself with all kinds of liability, even for your first customer. So, but for the most part, you're under the radar. Then a sole proprietorship is probably your best choice until you start saying, you know what, I'm committed to this business now. I can see myself making money in it. It's a profitable venture. Now it's time to start to look into probably a corporation.
And I'm also a big believer, and you might agree, might not, that it should never be a sole prop. There are other ways to do it as a sole prop without the liability, and you can always switch later. For instance, if you do a single member LLC,
right,
that's basically a sole prop, but without the liability.
Right. No, that's right. It is exactly that. The single member LLC is a sole proprietorship without the liability, but you are paying that, that self-employment tax. So it's not in full. So it's not really that kind of as favorable a structure, but it is a liability protection. So if I was a tattoo parlor, that's exactly how I would set it up. But once again, I'm paying a $500 annual fee. I'm paying for an extra schedule on my tax return. Well, actually, you're not. No, you're going to be paying. You're going to have the extra schedule anyway. But you're going to be paying the membership fee, and you're going to have to hire a lawyer to develop that. And so that if you're not really sure if your business is going to fly, that's when I do recommend a sole proprietorship. But you're right. You can eliminate the personal liability to be a single member LLC.
I'm just a believer that I'll spend the money to begin with to protect my liability, because it only takes one lawsuit, and
that's right.
It was worth paying whatever you had to pay to avoid that.
That's right, and that's very true. And so a corporation, though, is that next step that gives you the liability protection, plus it can give you some tax, what I'm going to call tax flexibility. So first of all, there are two types of corporations, and then there's the LLC, and I'll explain. You have an S corporation, a subchapter S corporation, which, in my opinion, is the most favorable structure from a tax standpoint and gives you the liability protection at the same time.
Especially if you're a small business.
Right. That's right. And a C corporation is really, I believe, to be unfavorable because there's double taxation. It's very difficult to sell a C corporation. And it's only utilized in rare cases for a small business. And I can tell you, I made the mistake back in 1984 to be a C corporation, and I had to do a lot of work to get out of it and turn myself into an S, which ended up being favorable, but it's a lot of work, time, energy, effort, expense. You might as well be an S corporation right off the bat. Now, an S corporation is called a pass-through entity, which means the profit gets passed through to the business owner's personal tax return and gets taxed at the business owner's individual tax rate. So but the beautiful thing about that is that profit of the S corporation is not subject to an employment tax. Or self-employment tax, I should say. It's not subject to self-employment tax, and as a result, you can actually, by managing it properly, it's going to be managed. There's flexibility. The flexibility has to be managed, and by managing it properly, you can reduce your tax liability with that sub S corporation. Now, you have to remember that an S corp, you have to have a reasonable salary. You have to make a reasonable salary and be on the payroll. Otherwise, you're abusing the S corporation's advantages, and that's
where you pierce the corporate veil, and you are personally liable if you don't do that.
That's right. Because what happens is you have to make sure that when you're a corporation, whether it's an S corp or a C corp, that you have to be fiduciarily responsible in every way, so that the courts can clearly see that there's two entities, the corporation and the person. If you don't separate that, if you commingle funds and do all that nonsense, then a good lawyer is going to break the corporate veil.
Yeah.
And you're going to get into trouble.
Totally.
So you've got to be really diligent about the management of a sub-S corporation, or in a C corporation, by the way.
And
Now,
a perfect example of that is, which people wouldn't even think of, if you pay one of your vendors with personal credit card, you have just pierced the corporate veil. That's
right. Yeah, an opposing attorney will have a field day with that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're being the same person. The key is to make the corporation separate from the individual.
Yes.
And so then there's this thing called an LLC, which is a limited liability company, which we've already touched upon. You could be a single member LLC. You could be a partnership and be an LLC, but you're going to be taxed as a partnership. See, the LLC, you can be taxed in a variety of ways. You could be an S corporation and an LLC, which I don't recommend, and that way you're taxed as an S corporation. You can be an LLC and a sole proprietor, and that is when that's protecting you from the personal liability side, but you're being taxed on your individual tax return. And then you could be a partnership taxed as an LLC taxed as a partnership. So an LLC gives you the flexibility of being taxed in different ways.
Yeah.
All right. So that's the advantage of an LLC. My favorite structure is still an S corporation, because it gives you the most flexibility from a tax standpoint. And I call it flexibility. It doesn't eliminate tax, but it gives you flexibility because of the profit from the S corporation is not subject to self-employment tax. So given all these structures, my favorite, and of course that's what my company is, is an S corporation. But like Dean said, you have to be very diligent when you're a corporation. Otherwise, if you're commingling funds, you're using personal credit cards, all of that nonsense, that you're going to look like the corporation and the individual is one of the same, and you're going to lose every lawsuit with a reasonable, competent attorney on the other side.
And a lot of people do, because they don't understand this. They set up an S corp, and then they pay all their personal bills through the S corp, so they can quote unquote, bring down their income. Yeah. But again, your deductions are not your personal bills. That in proper taxation, that is deemed income. So if you have your personal home rent, let's say, without using home deductions, which I never recommend anyway, but you have just pierced the corporate veil, and it looks like you're just trying to take advantage using the S corp to avoid paying taxes by getting deductions you would never get before. Right. Okay. Yeah. And so, this was something I was taught very early, like 18 years old, like no matter what, do not commingle. And what commingling means. Some people think commingling just means commingling the money. That's why I brought up the concept of the personal credit cards, because it's not just commingling the money. It's actually using the corporation to fund your personal lifestyle. And that's a big no-no.
Big no-no. You're going to get nailed. And all the value that the corporation has to protect you is gone. The other misnomer people have is that when they sign a personal guarantee for a loan, even if it's a sub-S corporation, they're still personally liable on that. The corporation protects you from personal liability from the outside, but if you're signing away your right and becoming personal liable for a bank loan or a lease or even a vendor that makes you sign personal guarantees, which I'd be very cautious about, by the way, that you are personally liable regardless of what kind of structure you have. when you sign a personal guarantee.
I was taught that too at a young age. Don't ever sign a personal guarantee. What's the point of getting a business loan if you're going to sign a personal guarantee?
Theoretically, there's no point. The problem is that banks are just being real difficult these days and requiring it on everything. And when business owners need a line of credit, that's
the unfortunate part, because they are requiring it more now than ever. Because
yeah.
It was never a case back in the day, and now, like, it defeats the whole purpose of having a corporation if you're going to sign a personal guarantee.
It does, but at least it limits, the outside lawsuits. But
that's true.
But on the other hand, you're right. People sign away. I have clients that have personal guarantees with vendors that are 30 years old, and I'm telling them to go back and get that personal guarantee and rip it up because, if something happens. Imagine being loyal to a vendor for 30 years and then they go after you personally because they got this personal guarantee and you happen to hit a rough patch. I mean, it's just scary. So, your never signed personal guarantees really now applies with exclamation points to suppliers who try to get them especially when you're just starting out.
Well, like you're talking about the banks and credit and stuff. To me, it's like, if you're going to sign a personal guarantee, you just might as well get the credit personally, because here's the problem people don't think about. If you're getting a business loan based on your Dun & Bradstreet score and you do a personal guarantee, you have all the negatives and none of the positives.
Yeah, I know.
Because you're building your business credit, but you're not building your personal credit, but your personal credit could get affected negatively. So if you're going to have where you might get affected negatively on your personal credit, you might as well get the positive part of it and have it being a personal credit. So you're getting that on your credit report. That's my opinion, at least. Like, right. You don't want to do personal credit for your business. But in the same token, if you're personally guaranteeing, that means you basically are without any of the benefits, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, it's very true. It's a dangerous part of being a business owner, these personal guarantees. That's for darn sure.
Yeah.
You should make sure you have homesteads on your house, and all, and maybe put your house in a trust. All those types of things can protect, and you should go to an estate attorney or an attorney to protect yourself, because if you run into trouble and then you start protecting yourself, these are fraudulent conveyances that occur, and you're just going to get into more trouble. So be proactive and trying to protect your assets.
No doubt.
So one of the things I'd like to offer your audience, Dean, is a workbook called Legal Structures. And it's an actual implementation workbook to help the business owner understand what the best legal structure is and how to go about it and why. And so in order to get that, you go to nextstepcfo.net, you hit the contact button, you fill out the contact form, and in the message box, simply put legal structure workbook, and I'll send that to you free of charge.
Nice. I love it. And yes, this is a very important subject. I'm glad we covered it, because I can't tell you how many people I know go into business and they have no idea about any of this stuff. I don't even know what makes them think they should go into business without doing some research and knowing your legalities and your liabilities and all that. But they do. They do. And they think certain things, but that's not reality, because it's like everything nowadays. They talk to their buddy, or like when somebody posts something on social media and I know it's not true, I'm like, is that peer reviewed? And the answer I get is, oh yeah, all my friends agree with me. No. And all your friends shouldn't agree with you in your business decisions either, because they're not going to pay the price. You will. But thankfully, because of people like you, Michael, people can seek out your expertise, your assistance, so that they don't have to pay the price. And
the decision is ultimately theirs. The decision is ultimately theirs on what structure to
Yeah.
And how much
At
risk they
least
want
get
to, and
the
how much risk
proper
they want to take.
information. Yeah.
And how much risk they want to take. Yeah.
Exactly. 100%. Well, again, this is great information, especially heading into a new year, because taxes are coming. Okay. And you better be in the right legal structure for that. And so reach out to Michael, get the free workbook, and, see what Michael can do for you. And once again, Michael, thanks for being on the Adventures of Pipeman. And
can I wish you a Happy New Year, Dean?
Yeah. And as a matter of fact, I was just going to say, and I'll see you next year.
All right. Excellent. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.